Hello and welcome to The Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur's 1-0 win up against Brighton at the Amex. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're across all major audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And I'd like to say I'm joined by three great returning guests to The Last Word on Spurs. First up, always isn't our crazy train runner, instructor, conductor, you name it, he's back. Lee McQueen's back on Last Word on Spurs. Lee, really emotional week.
Massive,
I feel drained even since the game's finished. How are you, firstly? You well?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you, Rick, and viewers and listeners. Good to be back on. But like you said, a very, very tough week. Most people, probably including my good self as well, still not over the fact that we kind of didn't turn up in an North London derby. Notice I said kind of, by the way. Then had a tough away game a couple of days later, and I thought we played pretty well, but just couldn't score, couldn't find that final ball. And then what's happened in this week to Antonio, to the staff, to the players is just beyond. Well, it's just you can't comprehend it. It's just absolutely terrible, devastating. And then to go and get the 3 points like we did today was very fitting, I think, Rick. Which obviously I'm sure we'll get into it, mate. But a good win, very good win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I say lots of comments summing up here. I mean, emotional night, definitely for sure. It felt that way for the players. Even watching it, just feel drained. Forget the football. Just life. Really, just again shows you just how much you can't, undervalue life itself. How precious it is. Joining us as always again back on the show, the wonderful Jason McGovern's back. Jace, emotional week, draining week. How are you?
It's been an incredibly tough week. I think, obviously that dreadful start to it with what happened last Saturday, but the news from Thursday, tough week for me because obviously there was the horrendous atrocity in Thailand, in a country that I loved. That was a tough watch for me. Yeah. Thursday, watching some Thai TV, and then before kick-off tonight, the sad news of Johnny Duncan, who was the first person that I saw scoring goals for Tottenham all those years ago, and whose signed shirt is on my wall behind me. So to see the loss pre-kickoff of Johnny Duncan at 73, I went up to Derbyshire a couple of years ago when we started this, I think, Rick, and interviewed him. Did a real interview for anyone of that Division 2 season and his times at Tottenham. So, lots of things have gone on off the pitch that perhaps puts football into a little bit of perspective. But it was nice to sign off a difficult week with 3 points. It's a 6-point gap now to the team that's 5th and an 8-point gap to the team that's 7th. So in amongst all the criticism we seem to have taken this week as a football club, we've gone away to a Champions League game, kept a clean sheet, picked up a point. We've gone away tonight to a team that haven't lost since March away from home, where we won. We've won again with a clean sheet. And so, again, it's everything in the garden is apparently dreadful at Tottenham at the moment. But there we are, 3rd in the table, just a point off of the team that's apparently cutting the world to pieces at the moment. So, and with some really tough away games gone and out of the way already. So, whilst the performances aren't what they are, it's been a good end to what has been a dreadful week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And also delighted to have him back on the show. I think it's his first appearance of the season. We're normally seeing him in such a jovial manner. Tonight, it does feel so much undercast because of what's happened over the previous week. The wonderful Darren Altman is back on Last Word on Spurs. Darren, lovely to have you here. Of course, impressionist voiceover artist. Darren, how are you?
Well, absolute pleasure to be back. I'm thrilled. Firstly, at the performance, I just think the whole attitude of the team tonight was absolutely spot on, and you can tell. I mean, obviously, we'll speak about it. The passing of Gianpiero Ventrone and Conte in bits. Eric Dyer, God, he looked absolutely broken. Bless him. In the lineup. Obviously, I didn't know the man. I was aware of him. And as we said before we started, when Sonny scored the hat-trick against Leicester, he ran over to Gianpiero and he was the first one that he hugged. So obviously the team are absolutely distraught, but what a tribute and what a performance to give to the man. Brilliant.
Yeah, it only feels right to only start there, Darren, because again, it would just feel bizarre to not start on this show, despite obviously the win and the back of what's been a really emotional week. Lee, let's kick off with you because it has been an incredibly emotional week, as I keep on mentioning that word. It started on Thursday following the really sad news of Gianpiero Ventrone's passing, who died suddenly from acute leukemia. And you can just tell by the reaction around the club, it really has been so sudden. Obviously, the saddest news, a guy would have been coming to the age of 62 this coming December, which again just highlights just how much of a no age it is at all. And what seems to be clear is coming out from social media generally and across the Spurs community that every single Spurs player loved him, even though he worked them absolutely hard, as we saw during the pre-season, which again can only be seen as a measure to the man. I mean, again, Lee, we don't know him personally, so it's hard to really give a real expansive view on the man, but I think we can definitely see the impact he's had on the club, around the social circles of them, and I'm sure you're going to offer your condolences, right?
Of course, 100%. And I think, it's not just about knowing people personally. There's a word actually called empathy. And to put yourself in a situation where you've just lost a guy who has pretty much stood next to you for most of your career in the dugout. He was instrumental in helping Italy win the World Cup as well, which I didn't realise until I was doing some reading up on as well. You can see how much he's affected, like you just said, Rick, all of the players in such a short space of time. And it's really strange. Like, it's weird. Like, it's affected. Like, I haven't stopped thinking about him since first. It's weird. It's weird because I don't know the guy, so it is weird. But I've put myself in Antonio Conte's shoes, for example, and thought, how would I be able to stand up, carry on with my job in front of thousands and thousands, millions of people, and obviously watching tonight on TV, and be able to carry on after 2 days? It's incredible pressure. And actually, when you saw it on the players, like you saw the pouring out of emotion on social media from the players, but actually tonight when you saw that, the post-match interview, which I think is Greg Whelan, I think, was excellent, by the way, because he realised the situation and kind of moved.
I think Sky got it very quickly, didn't they, about how much he affected the whole club, his passing. I'm not sure from the outside before the game, whether there was like a real understanding of how much that was affecting or how it would have affected the club, right?
No, for sure. It was. It sounds strange now saying it because life is so much more precious than maybe what most of us, especially like I'm old in the tooth now, but a lot of the youngsters watching and listening and on social media and stuff don't realise how precious life can actually be, right? Until something like this happens. And also as well that the scenario with the players, Kane was welling up, man. You could see the emotion in his post-match interview. So, look, fair play. I think it sounds weird now because we did the show on Wednesday and we talked about can't quite put our finger on what's not right in the club at the moment. And, the pressers from Conte weren't right, and it didn't. And maybe this is it. Maybe in the background, no one knows what goes on behind closed doors in most people's lives. And actually, they are human, and I think that's what we've all come to realise. It probably galvanised the club even further now, and let's take this as a moment to be together. Because look, at the end of the day, we are one big Tottenham family, right? As easy as that might sound, but that's what we are, and we all want the same thing. So, look, I just put my hat on. I'm not sure, Rick, I could have done what Antonio Conte, the staff, the players have done over the last couple of days. Obviously condolences to his family and all of his friends and stuff. But we see Antonio and we sing his name, Antonio, and what he's going through is just mad. So he's obviously a much loved man that's gone far too early.
Yeah, most certainly agree. Jason's come over to you. I mean, the club on Thursday released a statement saying they're devastated to announce that obviously fitness coach Gianpiero had passed away. He was 61 years old. Again, just joined the club in November of 2021. The club referenced that he was a lovable off the pitch as he was demanding on it. He quickly became a hugely popular figure with players and staff. He'll be greatly missed by everyone at the club, and our thoughts are with his family and his friends that it's impossibly sad. Someone again at Last Word on Spurs here. We most certainly echo those thoughts. Ventrone's family put out a really nice message on Instagram. But again, just a reference, we saw some lovely messages from the likes of Sonny, Højbjerg, Sessegnon, Todd Klein, of course, the Spurs. He's, of course, financial officer. I'm doing everyone a disservice because literally everybody from the club must have put out welcome message. I'll say the messages of sadness and again, how much they welcome the guy and his love overall. A really emotional time, Jace, isn't it, for the passing of such a great man that had a really big effect on the club?
Without a doubt. And I suppose most of us really started to take notice of him with those pictures in Korea, didn't we? With the players flat out, and we were saying, you know, how much we're enjoying seeing them work like that. And, you know, the comments from the players, but none of it was actually, there was no animosity in the comments at all. It was, you know, that's how we work, and we're being pushed, and we know it's for our benefit and that. So, you know, that's when we first, I suppose, knew of him. But it's, you know, to have happened Thursday, and it would appear unexpected as well. I think that any of us who've gone through a family bereavement will know what it's like, or of a colleague or something, and you're just stunned and numb. And you know, certainly for Conte, who's known him for donkey's years or whatever, and had total trust in him, it must have been a really trying. I'm sure maybe Conte, whether he knew, as Lee said, whether that kind of short press conference on Tuesday for the Frankfurt game had that in the background going on, as if to say, you know, what's a game of football matter? What's it matter if I play Jed Spence? There's more important things going on, type of thing. So
it does make sense as that presser now. Looking back now, the frustration from him. There's something bigger going on as we've seen. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And you know, you're right. I mean, Kane looks absolutely choked in his interview. Fair play to Brighton. They got the tone of it right as well. And sometimes I'm pleased that we play a team like Brighton on a day like that, rather than a Chelsea or an Arsenal or something. But where it's a little bit more respectful in that. But no, it's been a sad day. But he'd have loved, I think, the character and the resilience tonight. That bit of togetherness. That great scene with Dyer really celebrating with Doherty tonight, right towards the end when he nicked it off his toe. I think you could just tell that little bit of toughness. And Tottenham Hotspur get a lot of criticism for being Spursy and a soft underbelly. And it frustrates me because we are a lot tougher than people give us credit for. And I think you saw that tonight. And so fair play to them. I think in a weird way, you'd have enjoyed that type of win rather than a stylish win. It was more in the mould of what we're told Ventrone was, you know, suffer, be together, push yourselves to the limits and things like that. And so it was the right game and the right performance to honour the man.
Yeah, and just coming over to you, Dal, finally, just on Ventrone, what we have to add is, again, you know, he has made such an impression on the club, both on and off it. And I think, again, if he's going to be, again, accoladed for anything during his time at Tottenham, is, of course, the back end of last season was probably the fittest that we've looked, which enabled Spurs to go on that incredible run. They got us into the Champions League. Harry Kane, probably as fit as we've ever seen him in a Spurs shirt, and again, just highlighting the incredible work he'd done at Spurs, because there's no doubt about it that without Ventrone at Spurs, I think it's very unlikely Spurs would have been in the Champions League, you know, this season, because again, to do what he's done in terms of the fitness, and you can see that the players are willing to go and ready to go the full 95, 6, 7 minutes. It's testament to him that we're in the position that we are now. We're looking forward to a Champions League game next week. I'm sure you agree, right?
Absolutely. Like you said, you know, a club is so much more than a coach now. You've got your nutritionist, you've got your sports psychologists, you've got, you know, your fitness coaches. And as Jay said, you know, in Korea, you know, everyone was reporting how they would do like 40 odd laps of the pitch, and then, you know, they'd be virtually throwing up, and he'd get up, come on, 2 more. But obviously the respect that everyone had for the man. You know, we didn't really see that, but it just shows, you know, it takes the sort, you know, something as awful as his passing for us as fans to realize how important he was. And I just think that performance, the heart, you know, all right, it was Brighton, and, you know, we haven't tonked Man City, but nevertheless, that was a performance that we haven't seen in a long time. And like you said, you know, Dyer hugging Doherty at the end, it was just the spirit, you know. And if we can take that forward as a tribute to Gianpiero moving forward. If we can take this as a catalyst to kick on and to really play like this game after game, what a tribute to the man.
Agree, totally agree. Just finally, Conte to Sky said before the game to find words for Gianpiero is very difficult at this moment. We are really devastated by the pain of what's happened, and also because no one expected this situation. But sometimes, life is not always positive, and for this reason, we have to cope in the best possible way. Because I know Gianpiero wanted us to stay strong, continue to do our work in the way he taught us. And I think we saw again, I've got to say, that minute's applause was superb from both sets of fans. The way that was, I would say, orchestrated, and the way in which we saw the away fans going off. Credit to THFC Flag, Spurs song sheet. So I must say, I know they played a massive part in making that happen down the away end. So really well done to those guys. And again, we saw Spurs players warming up with T-shirts in tribute to him. Conte, after the game, actually referenced the fact that it's been a really, really difficult week to be here and to focus. He knew that the situation was really problematic for Jan, actually after the Frankfurt game. And you could tell that obviously due to the emotion, because nobody had expected it. He went on to say that it was an illness but under control, and then it was very difficult because the situation hit me a lot in the emotional aspect. When it happens, it is very difficult to cover your feeling with the players and with the people that work in Tottenham. He went on to finally say that at this time, I've seen a lot of solidarity, and we could see that today in the performance. The players were really devastated by the pain, and the whole environment around Tottenham, the feeling was really bad because in only 10 months, I think Gianpiero got through the heart of everybody. He went on to finally say, my players were devastated by the pain, but life sometimes, it happens, many situations, not only to us. Life is sometimes good, and at the same time, you have to cope with the situation the best possible way. Gianpiero will stay with us forever, and I'm sure about this. And in that moment, he spoke to me about his illness, and when it is health, you have to take the right check, and don't worry. But his first problem was to miss the training. For this reason, I think he was in the hearts of every single player. And can I just say, as I'm reading that, I'm actually getting a tingle down my spine. I mean, it's just such emotional words here from Conte in his post-match press conference. He went on to say that I spoke to him last Thursday. He asked me if I could stay at home because he had a bit of a fever. It was really incredible because he was really worried to miss the training. And I said to Gianpiero, when we are talking about your health, just the markings of a man that obviously cared deeply for the club, deeply for Conte, never wanted to let anybody down. And finally, Conte did confirm that he and his staff are to attend Gianpiero Ventrone's funeral tomorrow in Napoli. So, listen, really emotional stuff. And again, all our thoughts, our wishes, our prayers are with Gianpiero family and friends. And from all of us here at Last Word on Spurs, thank you so much. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. For a watching audience in here, we've got a good 500, 600 of you watching us live. Really emotional start to Last Word on Spurs. So thank you so much for joining us. Tough start. We wouldn't have got a game to review. It's been so emotional. But just a reminder, of course, on Last Word on Spurs, that we are absolutely delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown Bang opposite your South Stand. Now, we did have our first live show there last week. Didn't go the way we want in terms of the result, but I'm sure the boys will agree it was a really good get-together, and we're hoping to be bringing you another live show around Christmas time where we're hoping we'll be able to have an audience in there with us. So we'll be keeping you posted on that, but just a brief reminder for you that you can still get tickets for next week's game at Beavertown by booking your spot at beavertownbrewery.co.uk/corner-pin. Right, it is game time. It's just so bizarre because on the back of that, you just forget we actually had a game to play Spurs.
Before we get into it, I'd quite like to show, and sorry for our listeners and audio, but for the viewers, you can all see that all of us tonight are sporting some sort of Tottenham Hotspur related garb or merch. And I think between the four of us, we've probably got some sort of years between us. So it's quite interesting to see like what year we bought these, what year we actually got these tops from. I think mine's from last season's training, top flow and audio. What have you got, Rick?
This is the 2021-2022 training wear. Jace, what you sporting there, Jace?
I've got 77, 78 tracksuit, mate. As I say, I had to put that on with thinking of Johnny Dunks tonight. So, like I say, he was a massive part of our Division 2 season promotion, and that shirt is always special to me. That Admiral shirt. So that's partly why I've worn that tonight. Really.
Yeah, lots of love for you, Jason. I've got to say, lots of people again tonight. I must just say, it's really emotional. We're not going to start the show yet. Can I just say the amount of love in the comments? I must say, and sometimes when you do a show like this, you see it's just incredible. Dal, what we sporting there?
What are you rapping, mate? You got a hoodie.
I'm repping a Spurs hoodie. Do you know why? Because I'm fucking gangster. That's why.
You can always trust Darren Altman to lower the mood and to kind of relax us all. Talk about breaking the ice there, Darren Altman.
Yeah.
Quite literally. Darren, let's actually start with you. Let's get straight into it. Look, you mentioned it at the start there, at the top of your intro. Good performance on Spurs at the end of a very difficult week. We held on for a 1-0 win at the Amex. It's a really big victory given the last few days. And I think, again, you can safely say that performance, there was a real organisation, flexibility with Tottenham, and it was a backs to the walls effort in the second half. And for me personally, if I have to pinpoint a couple of players, you know, on a night like this, it's difficult to do. I thought Højbjerg, Bentancur, Dyer particularly for me were the standouts. So about you, what do you think, Dal?
I think first of all we have to talk about the formation, because Twitter went mad with the 3-5-2. Oh my God, he's doing it! He's doing it! We wanted it! He's doing it! So 3-5-2, and it worked really well. That's the first thing. I didn't think Basuma pulled up any trees today. I thought he was functional. Obviously he got that yellow card. I don't know what he was doing with that challenge. I thought he was good. He wasn't brilliant, but having him there really did shore up everything in the midfield. And I was so pleased to see us come out, and especially away from home, to come out in the manner that we did. We played a high line, we pressed. We're used to seeing now this sit back and just wait to see what's happening for 20-25 minutes. And then we might go a goal down, or we might decide, oh, we're playing football. But I was just so pleased with the formation first of all, and the manner that we started the game, and it's like, well, why don't we're Tottenham? Why don't we do this every week? I'm not saying that we have to come out and attack Man City or attack your Liverpool, or go hell for leather every week and go gung ho. But to come away from home and to play Brighton and absolutely attack them, I just thought was brilliant. I just thought the work rate was fantastic. And obviously we can talk about the 4 changes that we made and the individual players, and I'm sure we can talk about that. But those are the 2 things for me: the 3-5-2 and that start was just. I want to see that every week now. I don't see why we can't play like that every week. It was brilliant, so refreshing, so refreshing.
Definitely a feeling today that, it was a real galvanised group that are seemingly so solidarity together, as Conte mentioned.
They had no time on the ball, Brighton. They had no time on the ball. We were doing to them what other teams do to us.
Wasn't it lovely to see us actually start so fast? We've been so unused to it in the past 8-9 Premier League games. It was lovely to see Spurs start really, really fresh. Lee, coming over to you. That is a big win for Spurs. It's Harry Kane's 8th goal of the season that clinches it. It was the perfect way to honour Gian-Piero Ventrone. Hugo Lloris at the end holding his shirt up, name on the back. Spurs staying 3rd, Brighton dropping down to 6th. And as Jace referenced earlier, there's now a 6-point gap between, we've got obviously us and 5th place Newcastle and Brighton. And although we were clinging on at the end, that switch, as Darren said, to a 3-5-2 did give us a lot more flexibility today. And you have to bear in mind, we're in the absence still of Kulusevski, who's a big miss. There may be an argument the final ball is still a bit of a concern, but Lee, that was a real team performance today, no doubt about it, right?
Yeah, I agree with Yorkshire Spurs on the comments there. It did feel like that we have more balance in the side with the 3-5-2. Again, I agree with you, Darren, to be fair. I mean, we was at it. We were like little Yorkshire Terriers trying to nick the ball back. And we were nicking the ball back and winning the ball back in such a high position at the pitch that it put us on the attack straight away. So it was, again, a little bit critical. We were a bit wasteful again today in front of goal, like you'd expect. Probably Kane when he rolls. I think he rolled dunk, didn't he? You're thinking that's in the back of the net. It didn't go through. I think there was just another time with Son. You're thinking he's through. He's going to stick it in the back of the net. It didn't go through. So there wasn't. That's 3 games on the trot now, but. What I love about it is chances are still being created. You can see that, the amount of shots on target have completely dropped off. I think there's an average shots on target when Conte took over last season until the end of last season. Average shots on target per match in the Premier League was 7. The average shots on target in the last 3-4 games has actually been 4. So there's a big drop off, and that actually it's actually like 3.6 or something like that. I just rounded it up. So today's very similar. We only had 8 shots, only 3 on target today. lots of. Oh, sorry, buddy. Sorry. I'm preempting the thing, but yes, thank you. So only 3 shots on target. Again, I thought what was quite weird is that Sky had our expected XG higher than Brighton's, even though they had more shots on target. And obviously, we've got our XG slightly different to that, as you'd expect. To be fair. But I think it's the quality of the chances. I mean, Brighton's got 14 shots, 4 on target, and ultimately their possession was nearly 60% in the end, which is quite interesting because, as Darren said, in that first half, I thought we was very much in control of that football match for very long periods with the ball as well. I think our passing was probably a little bit off today, and you know. And for me, that final ball, Rick, I don't know if you agree, and viewers, listeners, I just think that final ball isn't there. It just feels like, like we're a bit rushed. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like that we're just snatching at stuff still. We're still not quite in our flow. I mean, again, Son was, I don't want to persecute Son at all, but he was away. He wasn't free on goal, but he was away again. I'm thinking this guy. All he's got to do is just put a nice ball through, and he delayed and it didn't quite work in that way. There was another situation where you thought, well, just pass the ball left, and he delayed and he didn't get it there. So there's definitely some work needs to be done on our passing accuracy. I think we've got 82% passing accuracy today, and that only needs to go up 6 or 7%, and all of a sudden you're putting the ball in the back of the net. But I agree with Chubba Tube. On screen, Benter, Højbjerg, Cess, they were very good today. I mean, I thought Sessegnon, Andy Hinchcliffe, right, gave him the man of the match, right, because he's a left back. Let's be honest about it. But and I thought he defended really well. But going forward, I still think there's a lot to be desired there, Rick. To be honest.
No, I think that's fair. I think we've all said with Sessegnon, you know, it's about consistency. We haven't really seen that throughout his tenure at Spurs, and we're being honest with you. I think once we start seeing consistent performances with Sessegnon, he'll rightly get rewarded for it. And I have to agree with you, Lee. I was a little bit surprised when he was awarded the player of the match from Sky. I was a bit like, I wasn't expecting that at all. But again, maybe down to the reference of the co-commentator, that pretty much makes sense. Jace, come over to you. Some may argue that's probably our most impressive display of the season when you argue the opposition, position-wise, that we're coming up against, and the way in which the week we've had in general, emotionally draining, Spurs have grounded out a really big win there. I mean, Conte at full time, I think you could see what it meant to him. He actually celebrated with the fans, and we then saw the chants of Juan Gian Piero. Lovely tributes from Spurs, actually, from Lloris holding his shirt up to the away fans. But as I said, really for me, lots of positives in there. We had, again, we could show today that, you know, with the 3 midfielders, as Darren mentioned, going to a 3-5-2, I think it gave us a lot more sense of control. Højbjerg, I mean, I know he gets a lot of stick on last one on Spurs and across a lot of different platforms. He was superb today. And I have to say, I think he's been superb for a lot of the season. I think when, again, you look at the tenure in the last 7 or 8 months of 5 or 6 years of Spurs' signings, Højbjerg has to be up there now as one of our best because he's been so consistent, barely misses a game. And I think, again, you only realise how good Højbjerg is when he doesn't play and he's not in that midfield, because he does offer Spurs a real sense of balance and does break up the play. And I think a player that will never get...
I know it's over to Joe, but he never not plays. That's another thing. Well, you can rely on this bloke every single week to play every single minute. You know, and you can if that's what you want. And that's got to count for something as well.
Yeah. Totally agree. I mean, Jace overall as well, Doherty last in the distance, obviously is a very good thing for the club. And Harry Kane, joint best start to a Premier League season goal-wise. Overall, Jace, happy with the performance?
Yeah, I haven't been as down this week, I think, as a lot of people. I mean, you know, we played 3-4-3 against Frankfurt. We dominated the game. We got on the front foot in Frankfurt, 3-4-3. And I think the whole week, you know... It starts with that derby day, and that's obviously horrendous to lose to them. But we lost to the league leaders 3-1 away from home with 10 men, where we gave away a sloppy goal. I know it's Arsenal, and it hurts us more when it's them. But if we'd have gone to Anfield and lost that game 3-1, there would not have been the meltdown on Monday and Tuesday that there was. But it was Arsenal. So it's you know, it's the most devastating thing in the world that can happen to us, and I understand that to a degree. But I thought You know, all 3 games this week, we've looked. We haven't performed great in them, but it's that final ball. And today, I mean, there was even a really sloppy one from Kane in that first half, wasn't there? Where he kind of just, and you thought that's such an easy ball. And I think today, if Kulusevski's composure and such is on that pitch, and his decision making is on that pitch, I think that after 20 minutes at Brighton, we'd have won that game 3-0. The game would be out of reach already. And I felt that in Frankfurt, where, you know, Sonny's finishing was woeful. I felt it at Arsenal, where we broke in that first half, missed the final ball. I don't think we've been that far off it this week in 3 disappointing performances. I mean, today we've gone away from home. Brighton kicked the day off in 4th. They've just gone and got a draw at Anfield. They've already won at Old Trafford. Yeah. We know they're a good side. They beat us at home last year. They won at the Emirates last year at the end of the season. They're a tough. I think even Pep will say Brighton's is a tough game. And I thought the second half, whilst we didn't look like we would score the second, it was more down to that final ball that it looked like we wouldn't score the second. I mean, even the ball that was it Perisic or Sessegnon put across the box, and Richarlison's that half a yard behind it. He's got to tap in. There's numerous openings. Kane held a ball once too long. It was a lovely ball into Sonny. He's through 1-on-1 and he let it go under his foot. It's little things like that. It's not far off.
Literally fine margins.
No, exactly.
Time, didn't we?
It's not far off. And I think
I was so impressed with the way we handled the away game midweek. You know, everyone knows.
And again today, Lee, the noise from the Brighton again, it was a really, really tough. Listen, this is the manager's first game at home. This is De Zerbi's first home game.
I thought our away fans, by the way, were absolutely outstanding.
Shout out again, CHFC flags.
Another massive shout out to them all, because they are just literally first class. Love you guys and girls, man. First class.
Absolutely agree.
I get that feeling that the Tottenham at the end of last year, when we put 4 past Leeds, 4 past Villa, 5 past, was it Newcastle, 3 at Leicester, 5 at Norwich, 4 on the opening day at Southampton. If we had that little bit more composure with that final ball, I think we'd have scored 3 or 4 in Frankfurt. I think we'd have scored 3 or 4 today. And I think we'd have scored 3 at the Emirates in that first half last week. Yeah. It's not that far wrong. It's just that last little piece.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dal, to come over to you. Listen, again, we have to reference this point. Brighton were unbeaten across their last 7 home games before coming into today, winning 4, drawing 3, and only conceding 8 league goals so far ahead of going into this game. That's the second fewest behind Everton with 7. And like I said, for those last 7 home league games, they're going in with clean sheets. Obviously, Spurs losing 2 out of the last 3 they played. Spurs weren't rested, Brighton were. I do think this was a very crucial game and win when you consider it from a resilient perspective over what we've been through this week, and the fact that if we have got aspirations of competing up to the top echelons of the league, this is where you need to win, right?
Just on that, going to just say, Darren, that, that's a big point. Brighton have had not a game this week. We've had that derby, which we know emotionally and physically is a hard one, then an away game in the Champions League, and away again today. So, you know, preparation plus with all the other things that have gone on with prep. So that's a big difference as well in that. Much more demanding week for us.
Absolutely. And I completely agree, Ricky. You know, it's games like this that, you know, if you're going to challenge for titles or Champions League or top 4 finishes, you know, not that you expect to go away and beat every team, but there are certain teams that you have to beat home and away, because otherwise the points aren't on the board. And again, the display from today was the antithesis of what we've seen. And it's weird what you were talking about, the final ball and the fine margins. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know why this is happening. And it would be interesting to try and maybe work out why, because we're used to seeing Son and Kane click. We're used to seeing our forwards, you know, dominate teams. So it's interesting to think why this is happening, why those, you know, Kane, Son, why we're not clicking and getting the shots on target that we're used to. That, I think that's an interesting point, actually. But I completely agree. Brighton, forget the fact that they've got a new manager. It's the same team, and like you say, you know, they've lost once in the last 7 games. They've beaten Manchester United. They drew with Liverpool. They've beaten West Ham away. So they're no mugs, and I think that it's such a good win. It's such a good win, and and I think that I was really pleased with some of Conte's decisions. I will be the first. I'll hold my hand up and be the first to mention the R word. If I never see him in a Tottenham shirt again, I'll be happy. And even though
we have got several R players though, but I think I know the one you're talking about. I presume you mean the one that's sitting out at the moment, right?
Yeah. So and I know his hand was forced.
Yeah.
And again, like Bissouma, apart from the challenge, that unbelievable challenge at the end, I don't think Doherty had an amazing game. He needs to get minutes under his feet because he hasn't been playing. But I think he understood that role better than Royal. I've never got Royal. I just don't see the fascination with him. I don't get him.
I personally think, you're personally, Darren, I just think personally it's his lack of options there at the moment. I know people are clamouring for Spence. I think we will see Spence, I would imagine, probably in that Carabao Cup game against Forest. That's the game I think we're going to see him in. I think Doherty today...
Don't forget, with Spence, right, a slightly different scenario, but Conte had Perisic at Inter, and he went, don't really fancy it at the moment. Go out to Bayern Munich on loan. And he sent him out on loan. And whilst he was on loan, he won the Bundesliga and he won the Champions League. And then when he come back, he went, I fancy you now. And he's been world class for them. So, and that's a slightly different scenario, right? But he likes to wait for players to earn the right to get in the side. And there's something maybe not quite right there with Spence. And I agree with you. Sorry to cut you off. I think that November the 9th is probably where you're going to get Spence's first start, which would be against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, and again, I think we reference that point that there's a reluctance from Conte that really wants to trust the players before they bring into the team. But again, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens on that. Just a few listener questions we had in. Very nice this week. Only 6 listener questions, which is obviously great when Spurs win. I mean,
we must have won. Yeah, I was going to say we obviously won this week.
I said to Lee and Jason last week, we're going to be, Rick, are you not coming out for a bit after Beaver Town, after the game finished? What are you doing for 5 hours? I said, we've got 50 listener questions here. They're not writing themselves. Just the 6 this week. A flavour of them. Phil at loveday_ph says, good performance today, but felt nervous throughout as we tried to control the play and hold on to a 1-0 goal lead. I'm interested what the panel think when they get into it. Ben Spurs says, okay, we can say what we want about formations and tactics, but if our forward decision making and passing have been better over the last few games, nobody on here will be moaning at all. And Darren K pointedly says, for Jan. And just on that, we have to say at the start of the game, Conte wiping away tears after that minute's applause for Spurs' fitness coach. And Hugo Lloris again at full time, making that reference to holding up Gian Piero's shirt again. All of our thoughts go out to me on Last Word on Spurs. Hopefully, I say you've checked out and you've listened to that start of the show there. A really lovely tribute from the boys on Gian. Conte making 4 changes. We are going to bring up that team for our watching audience now on YouTube. There's a good nearly 800 of you plus watching us across all of our platforms. So again, thank you so much, guys, Saturday night for giving up your time. And again, thank you so much to these guys here for giving up their time here on Saturday night for Last Word on Spurs. So that team, as we've seen from Conte, had 4 changes in there. Conte went, as Darren kindly referenced to, finally with that 3-5-2 formation, handing Matt Doherty a lifeline, Ben Davies, Yves Bissouma, Sessegnon all earning their recalls. Big opportunity today for Bissouma against his former club. Interesting that Doherty started for him, his first of the season, 6 days after Conte suggested he wasn't ready to start, and Bissouma's second start only for him. Richarlison and Perisic benched, and overall, of course, that meant for Bissouma coming into the team, and that team read Lloris, Romero, Dyer, Davis, Doherty, Bentancur, Bissouma, Højbjerg, Sessegnon, Kane and Son, with a bench of Forster, Longley, Sanchez, Perisic, Skip, Sarr, Richarlison, Hill. James, to start with you, was you surprised Conte did go with the 3-5-2?
Yeah, I was. I have to be honest, because probably because we just haven't seen it. I think they said it's about 26 games in a row we've gone 3-4-3. We've called for saying, what's going on with Bissouma. So it was, and the words in midweek suggested that Doherty, Bissouma, Spence's and people like that aren't ready to play. Skip's not ready to play. So I kind of expected probably the only change would be, I thought we might see Cess play at right wing back and Perisic at left wing back. And other than that, I didn't think there'd be much change. I mean, I think if we thought we'd go 3-5-2, I think he would have done it more in Frankfurt than And once he didn't do it in Frankfurt, then I didn't see him really doing it today. But it paid off the first 25 minutes, particularly. I thought we were the only side in the game, the dominant side. Bissouma, I think, like Darren said, it didn't necessarily have a great game, but maybe trying a little bit too hard to impress, a little bit too hard because it's particularly that it's Brighton away, needless yellow card. But he'll definitely get better. I mean, we're not talking about somebody that as fans we know exactly what he's going to bring to the team, and I expect come that second half of the season and that I expect to see him as a really strong part of that side. I love watching Bentancur every week. I love watching the silky way he plays it. Just that, you know, one thing to praise the team for again today, our set piece defending, that one header from Lewis Dunk apart. You know, we know we conceded goals early on in the season from set pieces and that, but our defending of set pieces again tonight, Ben Davies, Dyer, Romero and that, getting the vital blocks, getting the vital touches in on those on when you're defending those, and that's a huge part of it to do that. So no, all in all, it was just that one absolute moment of madness by Romero towards the end, right in the corner flag for a brainless free kick that I think if Emerson Royal had done, we'd have gone absolutely ballistic on. But that apart, I thought our defender, and in fact Sessegnon did two right on the half-time whistle as well, didn't he? Where you thought, why are you making a foul there? But other than that, I thought we got our defending and that spot on tonight. The little kid that came on for them as a sub, he looked good, didn't he?
Yeah, the Japanese guy, great.
He was a Japanese player. He looked fantastic.
Really
and I was quite pleased he didn't play the 90 minutes because he certainly looked a bundle of tricks. But no, I thought defensively very, 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 very good.
I mean, Lee, on Last Word on Spurs, we've been, I think, trying to be in the most politest way saying, change it up. You've got a squad for a reason. You've got a bench for a reason. 4 changes today. Also in there, Ben Davies coming in for Clement Longley to provide some fresh legs. Overall, again, Richarlison benched. Happy, Lee, with that team you see on your screen there?
Basuma. Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've all been talking about change it up and put the 3-5-2 in, and you know, I think that Clement Longley was very tired. He said it in his post-match interview the other night, which was very classy, by the way. I thought it was an excellent interview from Clement, the way he spoke. But he was tired, and you could see that he was tired at the end of that match. So to bring in Davies, as you said, who is 7 out of 10 all last season, probably more than that as well. He's been a little bit frustrated with injuries this term. So yeah, coming clean sheet. Job's a good one. I mean, them 3 didn't let us down at all last year, did they, to be fair? And they didn't again today. And yeah, I thought that, I agree about Bentancur. I thought Højbjerg was excellent today, I have to say. I thought he was superb.
Absolutely superb.
Yeah, he was. And again, it's not just him with the not the final ball not being off. It's all of the team at the moment, as Jace just talked about. So, you know, and again, I totally agree with you, Jay. Bentancur's silkiness. I love it. There was a comment earlier. It said sometimes I find myself just watching him rather than the rest of the game, and I do as well. And that's what's a joy to watch when you're live and you're at the game, because you can choose who you want to watch, right? Bentancur, I think he can play a little bit more further forward. I just felt that today in the 3. It gave him more license to go and do some other stuff as well, which is quite exciting to see. So we'll
lucky not to score as well, wasn't
he? Yeah, no, it was a fantastic
save. Yeah,
it was a really good effort. And actually, you look at the 3 shots on target that we had, he had one of them. So do you know what I mean? So that's quite interesting, and obviously one of them was a goal. So you know, limited chances today, but I think the thing is, and this is probably what Conte, not what Conte would say, because what do I know, but I'd say probably a professional would look at it and go, we give up our attacking more of our attacking ability when we play a 3-5-2, because actually in some of them transitions, especially today against, ironically, a 3-4-3 team, like we matched up Frankfurt in the week. If we'd have played 3-4-3 today, we'd have matched Brighton up. We'd have probably got more chances. Like, it's weird, isn't it? Because we had
we missed the third one on the break. Yeah,
exactly. So we had the extra man in midfield, and we were at it, and we were there. But we probably missed, like you say, that extra third man. And I mean, I'm excited. I look at everything as glass half full, as you all know by now, and some people are sick of that, but I love it. And I'm really excited from the fact that Kulusevski's coming back soon, because adding him into the mix, Richarlison coming off the bench today was a huge difference that you couldn't use him when we'd already started him. I know it sounds a bit weird, but you have some different options. Lucas Moura coming back out, and coming out of this kind of difficult time that we've had. We're third in the we're 1 point off of the lead. It's madness.
Yeah.
So we're so poor and so bad and so negative and so rubbish. Yet we have lost once in the league and we're third. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, my expectations have gone up massively since Conte have come in. Do not get me wrong. But the expectations of some of the people, like whether or not they're fans, supporters, people on Twitter, social media, wherever they are, they're all around. We see them all. We know them, right? It's quite bizarre how you can kind of look at this and go, we're shit or we're not good enough. It's like, hello.
Someone replied to my comment today, like moaning after we've won 1-0 away, just saying, "Oh, the football shit, he has to go." I'm like, are you shrooming?
I'll just give you some stats, Darren. Here, just some stats against Brighton. Right, you have to go back. You have to go back until 2014 in a League Cup fixture that we put 3 past Brighton. Right, they put 3 past us, by the way, a goal margin of 3. So we won 3-1 in the cup, but obviously the Super Bowl, weirdly enough. It's always a tight game, is the point I'm trying to make. Like 8-9 fixtures, home and away, it's always a tight game. The last 5 fixtures has only had a 1-goal swing in it, other than the Kane Coca-Cola bottle when we beat them last season 2-0. It's always a tight game.
I have to say again, this is the manager's first home game in charge.
I know.
This is a guy that went to Liverpool a couple of weeks ago and got a point there, and they played Liverpool.
They should have won.
They played Liverpool off the park. Liverpool came off that game very lucky to get a point because they were that damn good, Brighton. They're honestly.
I won't read all of them out, but look, I've got them here: 1-1, 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 1-1, 1-2, 1-0. 2-1, 2-1, 3-0, 1-0. I mean, they're always tight games. So, I just think that somebody said it earlier, like, to support your team is sometimes you've got to get behind them. And
absolutely.
Straighten them.
Yeah. If you think the damage
in the last home game, by the way, sorry, home game, our last home game scored 6 goals. Just throwing it out there, just reminding everybody we scored 6 goals in the last home game. So I just think it's I think the formation gives us something different. I think it now enables us for Antonio Conte to think, actually, for this game, I might play this, and for this game, I might play that. I think as soon as Kulusevski's fit, it'd go back to a 3-4-3. You might even see Kulusevski start as a wing-back, seeing as the bloke don't even know that Spence exists. So who knows? Who knows what goes on? And Lucas Moura might come in as a wing-back.
One other big note today, wasn't it great to see in the 3rd or 4th minute Harry Kane walking away from a free kick?
Where I was
finally the pennies.
By the way, that was the other shot on target we had.
That was the
shot on target we had. So it was a Harry Kane, free kick, Harry Kane goal, and Ventrone. That was a free shot.
Listen, someone's listening to Last Word on Spurs. They say, Dal, let's bring you in there.
What was I going to say? Also, talking about position play, I thought it was mad to see Romero forward, bombing forward. I'm like, what the bloody hell are you doing there? Get back! It's just brilliant. There was a freedom today. I
totally agree. It felt like, didn't it? I mean, overall, like you said there, we saw obviously Sonny on free kicks. Granted, obviously it wasn't a great hit, but it tested the goalkeeper. But I think we saw, Dal, I don't know if you agree early on, Dal, the wing backs were working really well, and it was always what Conte was demanding. Great chance for Doherty early on, and I think again how we had a more composed, hopefully politely saying it's a composed right wing back there. We're 1 up because it was a really, to be fair for Doherty, it's a really difficult chance, isn't it?
Maybe one that had got 4 or 5 games under his belt as well, in fairness.
Fairly, I mean, it was, I've got to say, Dale, I mean, a bit of a rusty stuff from Doherty, but overall, would you pleased with how Spurs started the game? There's been so much talk about how Spurs start games. How pleased were you about how Spurs started that one?
Absolutely. Like I said before, I can only repeat myself. It was an absolute breath of fresh air to see us not sit back for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Nice one, Tom. And absolutely take it to a team. And as I said, if you're going to get, so I sound like Glenn Hoddle, if you're going to, play those 1v1s and 2v2s, as I say, and, you've got to attack teams. You've got to, and we did that today. And it's like, bloody hell, God, the pennies drop, for God's sake. I really liked. I mean, listen, Doherty needs games under his belt. Whether he'll start them again or not it remains to be seen. I liked Doherty today. I thought he was functional. He did his job. And Sessegnon, I've got to say, I'm surprised for you to hear you guys say that you're not that impressed with his forward motion. But I thought there was spots today where he was playing that role of a left wing back that I want to see. I want to see that bombing down and beating your man. And as much as I do like Perisic, I thought, and you can shoot me if you want, but I thought Sessegnon offered more than Perisic did on the left wing. Personally, I just loved his engine, running back, defending, tackles, running down the left wing, offer himself for balls. I just thought it was a breath of fresh air. I really did. And
George is liking the Glenn impression. He's loving it. We might have to bring him out of retirement.
You have to say that, as I say, those 1v1s and those little areas, and, you've, come on, you Spurs, as I say, because, pleasure to play at, sorry.
Brilliant, mate, brilliant. Also, as well, it's quite interesting just on that Cesc scenario and the Perisic piece. I gave out a stat out the Blue Book last week about Son and Perisic when they're on the same pitch, when they're pitched together at the same time. None of them have either scored or assisted, and that's continued again today, isn't it? Son gets his assist, and Perisic not on the pitch. Also, just quickly, Cesc loves to go forward and then cut backwards so many times. Maybe stick him on the right, and then he can ping them crosses in with his left, like Decky does, because he doesn't like to come like bomb. He's in, and then he just stops and cuts back, and you think, well, hang on, why don't you just whack it in first time? He did a couple of times, to be fair. Yeah. But that's the crosses sometimes, or the one that he pinged right into Doherty, and like you just said earlier, I think he's going to put it in the back of the net. There's just sometimes there's some decision making of all of the forward players where you just think, if you just have a bit more composure, you're probably 3-4-0 up.
What I'm saying, it's so close to being right in that respect. And we know that when we got it right, like I said, you looked at that run last year. I think we've scored more goals than anyone bar City in 2022.
Agreed.
So there's plenty of times we have got it right. Plenty of times we've got it right.
Yeah. Jace, just to come over to you. Listen, we mentioned Doherty early on. Harry Kane rightly booked for a handball. So Brighton fans were happy in those first couple of minutes. Harry Kane basically basketballing the ball away. Bentancur's shot pushed away by a flying Sanchez. Actually a lovely hit from the Uruguayan. Of course, looking for his second goal of the season already. But then Spurs do score. And Jace, to be fair, it had been coming. We started brighter. Son gets a corner, pass back to him by Hove, curls it in. And I must say, Harry Kane, that it was such a beautiful finish. And anyone says it's not deliberate, is that Lee just showed us there? Was that the intricate formation for the goalie? Is that Jean-Pierre?
That's his shopping list.
Is that Jan? Is it Vianney? Or is that Vianney's 685th corner tactic routine? Right.
That's it. It's 4,767th corner routine. It's in the Blue Book.
I'm glad it worked. But Jace, overall for Kane,
that's a different Blue Book to the one he bought last week. Because that Blue Book he bought last week was just full of blank pages. There was nothing in there.
I'm telling you, the Blue Book that I bought the other week, it's a new one. I've gone through the old one, so many notes in there. I've had to get a new one, haven't I?
I thought it was a Panini sticker album last week. There was so many empty spots in it.
But honestly, Jace, overall, Gianni Vieira is obviously coming. He's definitely improving the corners from Spurs. And again, a lovely goal for Tottenham. But I have to say, Jace, the finish from Kane, exquisite, wasn't it? It was definitely purposely done like that. A beautiful glancing header.
Yeah, was it a glance? Did it a little bit shoulder on it? But it doesn't matter. I mean, it was his awareness of where, like you see with Kane, that intelligence. You see him have a glance over the shoulder, so he doesn't go too far away. He knows where his onside line is. He knows that Sonny's got the other side of him. So it's don't go in too close to the keeper. No need now to hang back. He just he dictates kind of the line that Brighton are trying to do, and he knows he's onside. I don't think there was any doubt in his mind. But yeah, it's a clever, because it was pinged in, that's for sure. Certainly whipped in, and at that height that's you almost kind of feel when the ball gets that high and it's pinged, if you get any touch on it, it invariably goes up, doesn't it? Quite easy that ends up going over the crossbar and things. So
I'm not having that Johnny boy saying that was lucky. Kane was being very modest.
I know. I think he was. Again,
he knew what he was doing. He looked.
Yeah, it's just that awareness.
He looked at Son. He looked to where his positioning was. He then come back. He knew exactly what he was doing. And this is the thing. You've got not you, Johnny boy, but everyone. You've got to understand. Other fans don't see this stuff. If Haaland does that, it's all he's the new thing. But he knew, mate. He knew he was excellent for that.
And his movement, just getting that little half yard of space either side of him, and his reaction time, it's excellent. But I still look at Harry and think he's not quite there this year. The goals are going in.
It's mad. It's 8 goals in his first 9. It's his joint best start to a Premier League season.
There's only Haaland in front of him.
17-18 season.
Yeah.
All the stats are there.
That's a good thing, isn't it? It's a good thing. We're third in the table. He's got 8 goals, and we're looking at him thinking he's not quite on form yet. And like I say, that bit in the first half where you saw when he had that really easy ball and he overhit it.
Yeah.
I think there was one in the second half where he turned and you thought, now play him through, and he held the ball too long and things. He's not quite the 100% Kane yet. And that's why I think it's such a good sign, because neither Son or Kane are on form, and we're third.
Dale, I want to bring you in, Dale, if I can, because Kane has now scored 12 goals in his last 12 Premier League games. He's netted in each of his last 4 appearances. It is his joint longest ever streak in the Premier League. And then to add on that as well, we've got the old Kane and Son combination. They're up to 43 goal combinations now. I mean, overall, Dale, listen, I know there might not be everybody on top form, but isn't it a fact that we've got so much to look forward to? We're only getting better, right?
It bodes well. That, I mean, it doesn't bode well that people are moaning. But if you look at Twitter, and you read all the schmucks, moaning and groaning about this isn't Tottenham's, way.
Very hard barometer, isn't it, to look at Twitter and try and get a reasonable sense of opinion.
Yeah, all the fans, and for those listening to audio, I am doing air quotes. Those fans that are just moaning even when we win. It's But it does bode well, Kane and Son, even though they combined today, they haven't this season had that combination, that 6 sets thing that they had last season and the season before. I don't know why it is. Can't put my finger on it. But for whatever reason, they haven't clicked in the manner that we are used to seeing them. Breaking fast, no look passes, pinging balls to each other. And as you say, the fact that we're still in third gear, my God, if we start clicking when it happens, we're going to purr. We'll get Kulishevsky back, and we'll start playing because we have to, because we will do. And
well, he adds balance, doesn't he, to the team? I mean, we know about Kulishevsky. What he does he gives amazing balance to the team. We've seen that when he plays.
But like we said, Højbjerg playing out of his skin, Cess starting for the first time in a while, and really, man of the match, just Bentancur, just like beautiful, silky play, Romero bombing forward, Dyer a rock. It really does bode well. I won't get carried away. We haven't beaten Man City, 4-0 at the Etihad, but really good win. Really good performance and great character. Why are you laughing? What am I saying? Have I got my cock out?
I know he's laughing. Nathan's coming in, but my wife says Lee looks more sexy every show.
All right, well he does. He's a good looking.
I'm not going to lie, mate. I kind of know, mate. To be fair, happy days. But no, Nathan, go away. I just want to pick up on something on Kane as well. And you say if buts maybes, but Jake, you mentioned something earlier in the show about Arsenal, and I totally agree. If it wasn't Arsenal at the top of the league, if that was Liverpool, which we all expected,
it'd be calmer.
It is Liverpool. People will be calmer. People will be chilled. People will be like, hang on a minute, we are right in the mix here. We are in the mixer. 8 games in for the title and all that sort of stuff, right? But it's not. It's Arsenal up there, so it hurts a bit more. If Haaland, and it's obviously a big if, but if Haaland had still been playing for Dortmund this year, Kane would be top scorer.
Kane's top of the goal scoring.
But he's having a shocking season. It's not funny. He's not good enough. But He's scored 8 in 9. So he keeps plugging away. He keeps doing the business.
Yeah.
And if he keeps doing that, that can only be good for Tottenham. Because as all of you have said, Son and Kane are a joke. I mean, together, 43 duo goal involvements now.
Yeah.
They've still probably got what, Rick? 3, 4, 5 years left in them, whatever.
That's the frightening thing, isn't it? But also, just to add on that as well, that's actually our first open play goal scored by a Spurs away player from home since Kane's header at Forest on the 20th of August. So, again, it just kind of reiterates the point. There's still so much more of this Spurs team looking to click, looking to gel. And there is a reason to be so excited. Obviously, he's the reason. But overall, ending that first half, Basuma. Now, it's interesting.
He's the reason. We're playing on Wednesdays this season. Go on, Ricky Benton. Go on, my son.
On his teammate, Basuma, there's been reports, obviously, Conte's been concerned about his tactical indiscipline. And again, I think that showed in that first half today. A needless booking picked up. It's obviously the second time he's done that. The other start at West Ham. And it did mean that he was on an unnecessary tightrope for the remainder of that game until subbed. So, I mean, again, I think going into half-time, you probably have to say that Brighton were the better side since the goal. Casado testing Lloris. First of all, Lewis Dunk not far away at all. Then Solly March drilling wide. It was a real test going into half-time. Jace, overall, was you concerned by the way in which that first half was ending, or was you always optimistic that we'd come out in the second half and be able to front it out as we did do and get the win?
Well, I was just thinking, Basuma's now been booked 3 times, isn't he? He'll be our first player suspended, and he's barely kicked a ball. It's just nuts.
Yeah, how he
first person that gets a ban will be Basuma.
Kane as well. Kane as well. But honestly, But I mean, you concerned about that?
Yeah, the last 10 minutes, Brighton certainly. Well, I thought the game. We said our 3 shots on target were all in that opening 20 minutes. And the best of our chances came in that first 20 minutes. But I think Brighton as well changed how they're played, in fairness. It's not just a question of, then we sat on it. I think Brighton, for the first 20 minutes, didn't really high press or anything. Then they started to be a lot more aggressive themselves. And always when there's a change in the pattern of the game, it's not just because you decide to do something different. It's sometimes the opposition do something a lot different to it as well. And you have to put that in the equation. But Hugo made the big save, didn't he? I think there was the Welbeck one where he shot across goal, Lewis Dunk's header, and you thought, good time to get into half-time. Let's just regain our composure at half-time. But second half, even though Brighton had a lot of the ball, I didn't really feel like Hugo. When you're watching it live, it's worse because you're constantly doing things like this. But I think probably if you now look back on that second half, I don't really remember Hugo having to do too much in that second half. We actually defended a lot more comfortably than we perhaps realised. And other than the I still can't remember his name, the Japanese lad that came on, I don't think they really got behind us or anything other than him. So
we are going to have to Google this. So we keep obviously speaking about this.
Yeah,
we are going to have to find out who this is that came on. I am going to try and find out who it is. But Darren, I'll come over to you whilst we do find that out.
Mitsuaka.
While you're talking about Brighton players, if you think what Trossard did to Liverpool, he barely had a kick today.
Yeah,
like he didn't
did it to us, Darren, at White Hart Lane last year.
Yeah, he didn't do anything today, and I thought it was great to keep him out of the game in the manner that we did. Mitoma, there you go.
Mitoma, thank you.
Great player. I thought we did, and defensively just looked great. I thought Ben Davies looked great as well, stepping in for Longley, looked very assured. Just great. Sessegnon.
Goes back to point, Darren, right? A team performance today, right? As you said.
A team performance. Yeah. That yellow card, by the way, was similar to Royal's sending off, wasn't it? It was just needless. Both players running away from goal, weren't going anywhere. And it's like, oh, come on.
I wondered whether VAR was going to have a little look at the old, because he did come in with a bit of a chopping, motion-y type scenario. Again, obviously it's against our, it's our players, so we're glad that we didn't get checked, or whatever. But you do want consistency, don't you? If Royal sent off for that, then Basuma could have been in a bit of trouble, couldn't he?
Just the manner of the challenge, like he wasn't going anywhere, like he was running away from goal. So why hack him down and get yourself booked and have a free kick in a dangerous area?
Like I said, the Royal one, the Romero one at the end was the most brainless one of the lot.
Yeah. Shout out to Phil Cornwell. Obviously, listen, Spurs
Phil
show, one of the
Cornwell.
originals. Love the show, back to winning ways. Massive respect to Phil. Thank you so much, Phil, for joining us on Last Word on Spurs there. Guys, what we are going to do is we are just going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners and audio. For our watching audience on YouTube, we've got a good nearly 800 of you plus joining us here on a Saturday night. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you again to the wonderful Lee McQueen, Darren Altman, Jason McGovern here on a Spurs win on a Saturday night. We had a lovely tribute to start the show for the wonderful Gian-Piero Ventrone, of course, sad passing. Go back and listen to the Last One on Spurs at the start if you didn't catch that. But just a reminder, if you need reminding the Last One on Spurs, I'm sure you don't, that we are delighted, of course, as well, to be sponsored by NordVPN. Nord are, of course, listen, one of the most high-profile now VPNs out there you can find. We're delighted that we've been sponsored by them for the season. And, of course, we've been making the point that on Spurs' Champions League journey across Europe this season, it is, again, the perfect opportunity to use them because always when you're away, you want to catch your favourites. Now, again, there's been links to what is your favourites. Well, in Jason's case, of course, it is the underwater volleyball. For many out there, it'll be another first sight.
Thai volleyball, boy.
Yeah, Thai volleyball.
Championships at the moment. Thailand robbed today. Shocking defeat.
You showed me that, Jason, the stats. It was almost Spursy, I have to say, by that. It was Spursy.
Yep, 2-0 up against the Americans. Lose the third set, have 2 match points in the fourth, lose that one, lose the fifth. They go home with all the glory, everyone's favourite team, the entertainers, but they're knocked out. Very Spursy, yeah.
And then you wonder why, like I say, there's other sports out there for you. Again, with regards to NordVPN, you can use them across all different platforms. When you're away, of course, like I say, use them to catch up on your favourite sport. Even music, Spotify, YouTube, they're great to come in handy for that. We've got a discount on the screen we're going to share with you right now. And you can go to nordvpn.com/LWOS to get yourself a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 months free. And it is completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day back money guarantee. Right, guys, we are going to make sure we're going to see you off. We've got match of the day coming soon. It is Saturday night, so we're going to squeeze in, of course, Frankfurt as well. But before we do...
Just sorry to interrupt you, but I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if it's coming out.
Yep.
Spurs have just tweeted that, which is the shirt that Hugo Lloris had, and it's been completely signed, with some messages and stuff. I don't know. You'll see it on social media. Pick it up. It's officially from the club. It's incredible. It's really good for Gian-Piero. So I just thought I'd share that. It's just come up on social media.
Yeah, and I'd say a really emotional down last one on Spurs. Really emotional match we've, again, witnessed and watched and then had to come back and do a review on the game. Like I say, just feels like the whole game powered into insignificance to some degree today when you look at the build-up and then just the emotions of every single Spurs player. But Dal, let's start the second half with you. It was a really important header from Basuma to really stop Brighton from actually going on to potentially equalise in the box. And then we saw Christian Romero literally putting his bollocks on the line to stop Brighton from scoring at one point. Yeah. And I have to say, again, this was a game where you could see there was a real togetherness of that squad, solidarity, like we said earlier. And, Spurs really at times, there was that concern that maybe potentially that they were showing that promise on the counter, but they were allowing Brighton to have chances. And it was a risky pattern of play. And we could see Conte actually getting frustrated on the touchline. And then we saw Harry Kane, a great opportunity to put Spurs 2 up. Christian Stellini calling for Richarlison to get ready and come on to deafening whistles of boos. And it saw Spurs going back to a 3-4-3 with Richarlison coming on for Basuma, who was booed at the Amex. Do you think, Darren, looking back now, was that the right decision? Obviously, Spurs went on to win. Were you happy that we reverted back to that formation with Richarlison coming on?
I wasn't... I've just got looking at my notes now. Yeah, I wasn't too upset, actually. And I thought it was, if anything, positive, Richarlison's an attacker, and I thought it was a brave decision. I thought, you got a choice. Do you stick or twist? Do you try and shut up shop for 45 minutes or do you try and get that second goal and put it to bed? Good night, God bless. We'll be going up the M23. So I thought it was a brave decision, but I completely agree with you in terms of the team performance. Massive solidarity today, and really, really working hard. And yes, we let Brighton in it, and they started to play, and we had to defend deeper and deeper. But I mean, I don't know. Just even when it was all over our box, we were just so good throwing bodies on the line, and it was such a brave performance. I really genuinely, I'm like Lee, my glass is always half full. If we get beat, I get pissed off and then automatically think, oh, but we can learn from that. We can learn from that. You know, like the North London derby.
Yeah.
And we did learn from that, and we won away today. And I just think that with this, we can learn again. And I definitely think we'll beat Frankfurt. There's no way we won't beat Frankfurt at home. And then who have we got afterwards? We've got is it Everton?
Everton next week.
Everton.
Yeah, Everton next week. Yeah.
It all bodes well. It all bodes well. I'm pleased. I thought the second half performance was great. Yes, we let them in to a certain extent. Mitoma played well, but I just positives.
I don't know what you think, Jace. Again, I mean, we saw Conte actually going really frustrated on the touchline during that second half. I mean, Spurs twice played to make the right pass on the transition, and both Davis and Son were really guilty of giving away the ball. And you just obviously had that concern that obviously with the game still being at 1-0, until you kill it off, there's always a chance for the opposition. We saw Harry Kane heading Son's free kick wide of the goal. Actually, a lovely trademark finish from Son. That was subsequently then later ruled off for offside. It was a tight call, to be fair. And then we almost got caught overplaying, James, because Sessegnon on the guilty party actually this time before Danny Welbeck fired wide. And then also we saw Conte getting really livid on the touchline and then instantly saw the call for Perisic to come on. Now, it actually looked like when Perisic initially came on, that he was actually going to slot into the left side of the midfield three with Cess still at left wing back. But actually saw the Croatian go up into the front three for the first time, taking Son's position. So just getting your thoughts, Jason, on those subs?
Yeah, I didn't mind. Like Darren says, I haven't had a problem with it being 3-4-3 at any stage. As I said, I think a lot of it is whatever formation you make, it's doing your jobs you're given. It's being aggressive. It's playing at a certain tempo. And I just think there are times today, maybe because it was 2, and then Conte's getting frustrated because that quality ball is missing, that you think, well, the option for if it goes through to Kane, he has an option to go right or left with his pass rather than just constantly going into Sonny. So that's where the benefit of the man not being in midfield and suddenly up front comes in. And I've said all along, haven't I? I think his whole system is designed to get as much space for those front three to go into. And when it works so well. But we're just not got the ball at the right times to make the system work particularly. But no, I have no problem with. And I think Perisic just brings a little bit of experience, know-how onto the pitch as well, doesn't he? There's a little bit. I mean, let's be honest. There's not many options other than that as an attacking option to do, is there?
At the moment,
you've got Sanchez on the bench, you've got Spence on the bench, you've got Skip on the bench. Who else is on the bench today? I can't remember who else is on the bench, but
got Sarr and Hill on there, of course.
Sarr was another one as well. So I was quite pleased with the switch. Although who then came on? Skip came on. I can't remember who Skip
came on for Kane.
So I think we changed
for
Kane. So again, we had to change a little bit. But I think that was the injury that did that. But no problem with that formation change at all.
Lee, coming over to you, Harry Kane, Matt Doherty, both with some brilliant last-ditch defending. And Joe actually loved when that huge tackle in the Spurs box from Doherty to stop Trossard, stopping a shot from 8 yards. It was like almost a goal had gone in because Eric Dyer gave him a massive, massive hug. And you know what I love about watching Tottenham these days defensively? We celebrate a sliding tackle or a last-ditch challenge like scoring. And that's what we've said about teams for years on Last Word on Spurs. So how nice is it that we're now doing that? And Conte, to be fair to him, he's been massively part of that since coming in, that defending is just as important as scoring.
I think it's massive. I think that, in society nowadays, we don't celebrate stuff, it seems like. Everything's so serious all the time. We're always waiting for the next big thing or the next thing to happen. You have to celebrate moments. You have to enjoy moments. That's what they're doing it for. Now, if anything, with what's happened this week, the tragedies that's happened this week, it shows you that you should be appreciative and celebrate the small things that happen. And if that's a tackle on the pitch, or if that's a goal, or if that's a team coming together, it bodes well. I mean, when teams are together, generally in life, when you're working together as a team and they're together, and you're happy, you play better. And if you're together as a team, you go and win.
Sorry to interrupt you, Lee. As we saw back in the last season, everyone together, fans, 100%. Manager, team, 100%. And we got top 4.
Yeah, 100%. Look, Harry Kane had a haircut. Turns up, they bang, back of the net. That's how it works, right? People are happy. And I know it sounds stupid, really stupid, but it is not. It is true.
I think we beat Arsenal at our place last season before a ball was kicked.
Totally
agree.
We beat them before we even walked out the pitch, and I think that's what we've got. We've got to all galvanise now and get a bit of positivity, because it's so easy for people to be negative and say, "Oh yeah, but Conte's playing like Mourinho." It's dull to watch. This isn't Spurs.
It's not. It's completely different. No, it's not. It's not.
But you'd be surprised the amount of people that do think that.
Yeah. But again, I would question, like I say, I mean, we to go to that point, again, for those people that obviously want Antonio Conte to come to the club, I have to keep making this point that Conte was never a pet manager or a tiki-taka manager. He's very similar to Mourinho, not in the style of play, but essentially you have to give him exactly what he wants to be successful. And if you give him exactly what he wants, he'll be successful. He's proved that at Inter, he's proved that at Juve, he's proved that at Chelsea. So if you give the man what he wants, he will win. And I think what Spurs have learned so far is that, again, this will be up for debate again, because some will not agree with me. If you back him to the degree of what he does want generally, you do get success. Now, there'll be that argument again. Was it the war chest in the summer? Did we give him exactly what he wants? But all I can say is that we are in a process. And if you hear Conte talk all the time, he's talking about a process. He's talking about 2 to 3 to 4 windows. It's not all going to happen straight away. And I think the way he's talking is good to see. It's not just about the now. There is visions for the future. It can't all be done in one window.
I think as well, Rick, if I can, the big difference in Mourinho football, both of them to a degree play counter-attack football, men behind the ball. My problem with Mourinho was we try and score the first goal, and that was it. We then that's it. And when we used to break, we broke with just purely with Son and Kane, so it became an 8-0-2 formation on the break. Conte breaks and tries to break in numbers. It's not with total isolation. You've got 2 fullbacks that you see that in the first minute with a right wing back trying to cross to a left wing back. We would never have had 2 fullbacks high up the pitch under Mourinho. Mourinho got freaked by that 3-0 West Ham collapse and was completely freaked by it. Never to be seen again. Anything like that. So there is a difference. There's no way Mourinho would have taken off Bissouma and brought on Richarlison today. No way at all.
Absolutely not.
No way
Absolutely
at all. In
not.
fact,
No
he'd
chance.
probably taken Son off first.
Kane off and put Skippy on.
Yeah, we would have gone 5-4-1 and tried to break. So there is a difference. I get why people. I understand people look at it and think it's playing on the counter-attack. This is just Mourinho football. It's nowhere near Mourinho football.
No. And again, I think that's an easy judge to make.
If I can, it's weird actually. I've got the blue book out, and I've just been having a look, and I've said a few of these before, but when Klopp took over Liverpool in their transitional piece, we finished above them 4 seasons on the trot under the Klopp transition. So Klopp was already there. Their saviour was already there, and we finished above them still 4 times. And it's only recently that they've obviously flipped across. Obviously, they've done it in the Champions League final, and since then they were the winners of the Champions League in 18-19. They won the Premier League in 19-20. They won the League Cup in 21-22. They won the FA Cup in 21-22. They've had 8 finals, 4 wins, 3 title races as well, and won the title once during that spell. But it took him 3 and a bit years to get to the point where he was doing that stuff. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to.
And the same. I don't know the stats, Lee, but the same was for Ferguson. I don't think he'd won anything for like 3 or 4 seasons at Man U. He did nothing.
No, exactly.
And they believed in him. They believed in him.
No, for sure. You look at Man City, even with the power of Chelsea, the power of Liverpool, the immense wage spending structure that it can have at Manchester United, Man City have still won the title 4 times out of the last 5.
Yes.
So it's a massive ask. So when people are kind of going, and I'm not, I still think deluded. You can call me. It's no problem. I still think if City hit some sort of buffer at some stage, Tottenham could be there to mop it up. That's what I think. And I think that we're 1 point behind them. And yes, at the moment, it looks like Haaland's going to score 40 goals. And it looks like City are going to, have the title wrapped up by what, Christmas. But are they? We're 1 point behind them. So you just got to put it into context. All we can keep doing is going and winning games and getting results. And before that Arsenal game, which hurt all of us, before that Arsenal game, we were 13 Premier League games unbeaten. We got beat. Now we're back on the road again. So if we go another 13 games unbeaten on this little run, it takes us up to the World Cup, and we'd be probably second, third, in and around 1-2 points off the top. So we can ask, isn't it, guys?
Like I say, Lee, you take Arsenal's name out of it. We lost to the league leaders with 10 men.
With 10 men.
We lost to the league leaders with 10 men. Yeah. So, it's like I say, if that had been anyone else, if we'd lost at Chelsea, if we'd have lost at City, if we'd have lost at Liverpool, if we'd have lost at Man United as league leaders, if we'd have lost to Newcastle as league leaders, there would not have been the meltdown that there is because of who it is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, guys, conscious of the time. Just to kind of summarise and finish this game itself, into those final minutes, Spurs were getting deeper and deeper. Kane won a foul on the edge of the box to relieve some pressure. Kane actually did get some treatment upon leaving the field, in which Skip then eventually replaced him. He was walking a bit gingerly when he came off, and he did confirm in his post-match interview with Ryan Sessegnon that he did pick up an injury, but just to allay fears, said he's confident that he should be fine for Spurs' upcoming games. But just to summarise team-wise, defensively, we'll start with Darren on this. Darren, defensively, Romero, I thought, again, a couple of really good tackles from him. Eric Dyer, really important tackle from him in the beginning, led the line well. Ben Davies, a seamless return for Ben. Lovely to see him back in the team performing well. Doherty, he'll be great, of course, for the fact that he's got some decent minutes under his belt. Sessegnon awarded man the match overall. Darren, finally, defensive thoughts from Tottenham. Happy with that defence overall?
Yeah, but not only defending really well and obviously keeping a clean sheet, but what they offer, funnily enough, going forward. We saw Dyer against Frankfurt. He set out his stall really early with those left to right cross-field pings, and he did a couple of them today. Romero, as I said earlier, really getting up the pitch and not being afraid to get forward. So not only are they, Dyer the Rock, Sessegnon getting back. So not only do they offer really, really strong defensive performances, but what they offer in terms of switching defense into attack as well. I think they're all playing really, really well. I think they've got not just the nuts and bolts defending, but the vision to break forward or to ping a ball or to see an opportunity to find space.
Yeah, Jordan.
And Doherty's cheekbones, as I say, absolutely. And you have to say those tight shorts and those thighs are them thighs, as I say, wonderful. And those plums. Treat to watch. It's a wonderful treat for the eye, as I say. Those close knit 2v2s in them shorts, as I say. So really enjoyed it. Really great.
There's 800 plus watching this game. What is going on right now? It's the wonderful Darren Altman.
Sorry,
voiceover and impressionist. That hasn't let us down tonight.
Satisfying. There's some impressions, as Phil Cornwall will know. They just feel satisfying to do and to say, as I say. I can do anyway.
I miss Phil doing Juan de Ramos.
Oh, the Juan de Ramos. We got
Juan de Ramos with the cockroach. The cockroach. Juan de Ramos was brilliant.
Give us some
and Big Martin Yole. That was great, wasn't it? When
Have we got a last call for Boris, Darren? We got a last call for Boris.
What does Boris make of
this is almost retired. It's all.
You have to get your Liz Truss out, mate.
Emerson Royal. I would never want to see him in a Spurs shirt again. Castigat Ridindu Mores. Huzzah. There you go. And then if you do this, hold on. If you do this, hey, big boy, young man, look at me. Fuck off.
I can tell that was Conte after the Arsenal game there, brutally in the changing room. That's what really happened there. The wonderful Darren Altman, always a pleasure. Darren on Last Word on Spurs. Guy's an absolute legend. Honestly, Darren, the comments are getting bad for you here. Lots of love for you. Jay's coming over to you. Just to summarise on midfield, Bentancur, I know today he lost a number of times in possession of midfield, but he did work ever so hard for Spurs. Had a shot early on, could have led to a goal. Basuma, listen, had a good, 70 minutes there. The problem with Basuma, again, you're going to say, and I will say this, that, he gets that yellow card early. And this is what Conte's talking about, that tactical indiscipline, where if you compare him to Højbjerg's playing, mostly 2 or 3 games at the moment, a week at the moment. He's someone that you can constantly rely on. Driving force in both halves for Højbjerg. Pivotal for the goal today. ability to, in a way, to come was get fouled and then win a free kick. I know some people, I think Jack put credit to him, he likened it to Gareth Barry, almost a skill to be able to get fouled, win a free kick, break up play. I just wonder, like I say, if, again, you look at that today, Bissouma, there's more to come from him. Do you think at that midfield, we're going to see that often, that free, Jace?
I think when Kulusevski comes back, he'll go back to 3-4-3, personally. But of course, there's a lot more to come from Bissouma. It's been a patchy start, particularly the impact that I think of all the summer signings. I think everyone was more excited about Bissouma than anyone else. But like I say, I think come February, March, April time, you'll see a Bissouma in full flow, and I think we'll all enjoy watching that. And I think Conte will enjoy having him in the team. But it's been a sluggish start, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to get over that. I'm just trying to see the rest of the comments. Just all the love for Darren. Honestly, so much love for him. Lee, coming over to you to summarise on the forwards before we look ahead to Frankfurt for a quick five. Kane again today. Listen, we keep saying this about Kane every week. Not his best game, but he's scoring again. Sonny, listen, he again today was effective at times. You'll be disappointed that he hasn't scored. I just wonder, Lee, for you, what you're thinking of Son, because again today, not on the score sheet, did obviously score the hat-trick against Leicester. Definitely more to come. And then Richarlison, obviously only given a brief cameo, but did try late on to connect to a Perisic ball across the face of the goal. Pretty much it from him. Forwards summary for you, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously Kane scored and Son got an assist. So it's terrible, isn't it? Like, obviously that's not good enough because they were both not very good, but they still got an assist and goal. But that's the expectations, that's the standards that they've set themselves, I suppose, in a positive way. I thought Richarlison was a bit wasteful today, to be honest. I thought Son was quite wasteful with some of his passing. There definitely needs to be some improvement in that area. And actually playing two up top today, I thought, Sane and Kane, Con. I was going to say Sane and Con.
That's what I did a couple of weeks ago. People said, how do you do that? It's easily done.
Son and Kane and Son. They did link. I mean, you could say, I thought, they're going to be closer together, and the two are going to link up more. Well, they did, because he got an assist and he got a goal. So I don't really know what else to say other than, Kane's now, 101 away Premier League goals. That's 7 more than anyone else in history.
I think it's now someone today, Peter Rainey, created a page, I think 10 off Jimmy Greaves. If that is the case.
8 in 9. I mean, it's just, it's because we're just used to it. It's almost like we're not bored of it, but our opposition fans are. They're bored of it. They're bored with the fact that he keeps scoring all the time. I remember seeing Thierry Henry back in the day scoring for that lot down the road, and you just get bored of it, don't you? I think, for God's sake, he's starting to score again. Haaland, he keeps scoring, but at the moment he's fresh, he's new, isn't he? So it's like he's a new shite, briny object that everyone goes, Haaland. We'll all get bored of it soon when he keeps bloody scoring. But look, everything that Kane's doing is incredible. What I think that would really help, what I think will make a massive difference in the team of the squad, the people that we've got now, is actually playing Richarlison as a 9 with Kane as a 10, like actually as their numbers. Do you see what I mean? Like even when somebody said earlier that formation, when we had the formation up earlier with a 3-5-2, that would be perfect for Maddison. But even I don't understand why there's no reason why you can't. Kane likes to naturally now in his game drop back into that kind of in that pockets of space. So why not then put the other two as the focal point rather than Kane not being there because he's dropped back and therefore there's no focal point. Sorry, I'm not articulating myself very well. But the point being is that he wears 9 on the back of his shirt, so play him as a 9 and drop. Sometimes, right, strikers, they switch around like this, right? They go either side, or wide players go swap wings. Why don't this happen? Oh, do you know what? I'm the furthest man forward. I'm going to do that for a bit.
And just drop back.
You have the ability to do that in game. You don't have to change the personnel.
Yeah, but he does do that naturally, like you were saying, especially with Son. They've got this ability to just forward, back, left, right. That's what they do. It's almost they haven't done it. They haven't clicked. The irony being that they linked up today for the goal. But I mean, we're not seeing it as much as we used to. But you could argue that is what they do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think maybe we're not seeing it as much. And I think with Richarlison as a 9, I've never seen him as the focal point, as the 9. I haven't seen that yet. Like even when he came on today, he was playing on the right side of a 3, like when we changed the formation. And what I'm saying is that Kane to get some of that control in the centre circle or in the middle of the park, and then for Richarlison to move across from the right into the middle and play as a 9. Because, you know, he played as a 9. I mean, I think King Holland just said he plays as a 9 for Brazil. He played as a 9 for Everton. And he wears 9 on his back for our fantastic, great football club. So I just think there's some movement. When you look at some of the other players, like Man City is obviously the one that everybody kind of is looking at. When you see some of the movement of where they are, now with Haaland, they've always got somebody that could. I mean, De Bruyne is literally loving it because he can just look up and go, I know where I'm putting that. Whereas before, when they didn't have like a kind of a traditional number 9, people were inverting, they were changing, they were moving around all of the time, and that also causes problems. But I just think that we need to just, I suppose, over a period of time, that experiment will work. It will happen more and more in games. I do think that Richarlison coming to a football club has been amazing. It's a great signing, but it has almost disrupted certain aspects. You know, Kulusevski, Kane, and Son last season were devastating, and we haven't really seen that this year so far.
No,
I just always think as well with Harry at the moment, it's we might not like to admit it ourselves, but I think there is a problem where Conte's probably looking at it thinking, where can Harry's lack of physical effort defensively, where can I hide it? Because, like I say,
it's a wonderful point.
I promise you, there's various times a day you can stop it. Even when Brighton were coming late, and I know he got fouled on the edge of our box, but there's a hell of a lot of the game is just going on around Harry at that point. And you know, he talks in that international break about how he's managing his physicality, how he's getting runs of games behind him now. But you won't really see him. He'll try and close a space down, but he doesn't really go with the intensity into a challenge. There are a lot of times a centre half just wanders past him with the ball because he thinks if I try and make the block tackle, then that ankle's gone for another 3 or 4 months out. And so I think he's having to manage that physicality without the ball. And the downside of that is he's not making those physical challenges like he was 3 or 4 years ago. And so I think Conte's got to think, where can I hide that? Because if I end up with him trying to help in midfield and he doesn't make a challenge, we will get outnumbered despite the fact he's in there. And teams will pass around him. And I think that's part of it. And we might not like to admit it, but I think you notice it with England even more, how so much of England's game now disappears around him without him being involved. And it is a problem, I think, both internationally and for Tottenham to try and work out how we work out Harry without the ball.
There's another problem, Jace, as well, is that 990 minutes of football that has been afforded to Harry Kane this year so far, and he's only not played 27 of them. He got substituted 17 minutes before the end against Fulham and 10 minutes before the end, obviously today. So 27, and then it's 9 games in the Premier League. It's actually more because obviously the Champions League games as well and England games. It's actually even more than that. It's upwards over 1,000 minutes worth of football, and he's only had 27 minutes off. So that's obviously not, and that comes back to the point we're making about the 9. Is there going to be a game? And this is the big question for me. You know, we're talking about forward. Is there going to be a game, Rick, that Kane doesn't start up front? Because
Forest. It'll be Forest.
League Cup, right? But if you've got Decky, and you've got Son, and you've got Richarlison, and they're all fit, and you've got Lucas and Hill and Kane, when is Kane going to get a rest?
Dale, what do you reckon? Do you reckon he'll get a rest for the Premier League?
Well, he hasn't so far, has he? Just keeps on playing him and playing him and playing him. And he said in his interview with Sky today, he said, I feel great. And he said, touch wood, as long as I feel good and I feel like this, I'm going to carry on playing. So, I mean, that's his job. I mean, you'll have to ask him. Do you think that
There's no way Harry
West
Kane. I don't know if you agree, Dale. Can you see a time where Harry Kane says, "Yeah, put me on the bench, Gaffer"? Can you see that, Dale? I can't see it.
No, I mean, he didn't intimate. He intimated today that as long as I feel good, and he said I feel great, I'm keeping playing. He said I'm very lucky to be in this situation. So yeah.
Yep.
He might get a few weeks. He might get a few weeks rest over Christmas when England are knocked out of the group stage.
Yeah, maybe. But just quick, I know you want to move on with it, but I think it's important because Son always steps up for this football club when Kane's not around. Like literally every single time. And Son's had a tough start to this campaign. There's no doubt about it. And if you can imagine a situation where you've got Richarlison playing as a number 9, which he wears on his back, Decky, who's fit and coming in from his perfect right-hand side, and Son playing, someone will automatically step up as the man because Kane's not on the pitch, and Kane would get a rest. So it would be fascinating to see. I'm not having a go at Antonio Conte at all because I don't think all of them have been fit enough already to play all at the same time. Once he's got, and Lucas on there as well, because Lucas is a player that he trusts. Yeah, exactly, Georgie.
I agree, Georgie. I totally agree, Georgie. Premier League, he'll play with one leg. He really will. Yeah. But
the point being is that if he could afford to rest him, I think that goes a long way with everything. I know a lot's happened this week, but in his pre-match interview today, he basically was about to say, everybody has to have a rest, and then he realised that he can't say that now because he's played Kane
every game, single Premier League game.
He can't say that. So hopefully there will come a time, because I'd love to see it. I don't want to drop Kane. I love him. He's my favourite player. I'm not going to lie. I love the bloke. He's an absolute ledge. But these Son, Richarlison, and Decky with a fit Harry Kane on the bench would be unbelievable. It would be unbelievable to see. It would just show you how much we have moved on, from a reliance perspective. And I'm not being funny. I'm pretty certain if Mo Salah's fit, he plays. I'm pretty certain if Haaland's fit, he plays. I'm pretty certain if Jesus is fit, he plays. But the points I'm making is that they're top players. If they're fit, they play. And Kane's no different. But if everybody needs a rest, and all the points you've made, Jason, about Kane, and it's a great point, spot on, he needs a bloody rest. When's he going to get one?
Agreed. No, I still think it'll be Forest. I think it'll be Forest. Again, it does feel like it's a long way away, but with the games coming every 2 or 3 days, believe me, it will come round fast. Conte said to end the press conference, I know we touched upon, obviously, the sad passing of Gianpiero Ventrone there on his press conference. Conte said towards the end of that press conference that many times we tried to find the motivation to push these players and to create a situation and to increase the tension. Today, honestly, I did nothing under this aspect. I left them to face the situation. They showed me to be really good people, top men. I said to them just now that I'm proud to be the coach of this team because, first of all, we have top men and really good players. So if you need to know how pleased Antonio Conte is with his Tottenham Hotspur players and squad, you've heard it there. But what we are going to do is we are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. Taking you into this break, you're going to hear from a number of Eintracht Frankfurt podcasters very kindly giving us their thoughts ahead of this game. And we're going to give you a quick 5 now. I think just due to the nature of time, guys, we're going to go straight into it and then ask you for your opinion and a prediction. So Jason has come to you because it does feel like a pivotal game for Spurs in this group, bearing in mind that we always say win your home games and you've got a really good chance of then qualifying. So thoughts going into it, Jace, and a prediction, please, for Frankfurt.
I saw enough to think from last week that we get that final ball right and we can score goals against Frankfurt. Make mistakes, and maybe Frankfurt on another night would have punished us for a couple of the sloppy errors. But I'm more interested to know what the atmosphere will be like because Frankfurt have gone everywhere they've got and they've got in their thousands. So any of our ticket holders are not attending next week, I do hope they've made sure that the tickets have gone to English supporters rather than German supporters, because it would be nothing worse than seeing 12, 13,000 Frankfurt fans in our stadium all over the place. But I'm looking forward to it. It's a big one. Can't wait to go over there, and I fancy us to win 2-0.
Yeah,
2-0,
and
and quite a comfortable night.
Yeah, I must say, playing you out, you're going to hear from Antonio Conte, who has given a rousing speech to Tottenham Hotspur fans on Wednesday, what he wants from the fans and their pivotal part to play on Wednesday. So you're going to hear that at the end of this show. really, really Conte raising the roof to say, look, we need the fans for Wednesday. You're going to hear that from him. And you're also, I'm sure, going to see THFC flags, Spurs song sheets come together in these next few days to really ensure we've got a really good atmosphere there. Dal, let's come over to you. It's a pivotal game for Spurs in the Champions League. It's one you think if we win, you maybe said that we're nearly all but there. If we can obviously get the maybe final win at home, of course. But overall, Dal, thoughts on the game and a prediction, please?
Absolutely. I think I saw enough from the last game, that 0-0 draw, to think that getting back to ours, and I can't see us losing. I'm with Jason. I reckon 2 or 3. I reckon we score 1, we score a couple more. I really do. And especially after today, I think today is a special result with everything that's been going on emotionally, and the performance, and the fact that he knows he can switch the formation and bring in these players and have them play like they did today with heart. And I really do want to see this. I keep on banging on about it, but I really want to see this pressing from the start. I just think it's so important.
Totally agree.
If we go back into our shell and sit back for 20, 25 minutes, for me, that's a step backwards. I don't understand it. If we can come out and play like we played today, I reckon we can beat Frankfurt 2-3-0, no problem.
I think you're spot on, Dan. I think you agree today that obviously pressing set the tendency, right? It set the opening of how Spurs played. So, Dan, can I just say, love to have you back on Last Word on Spurs. Thank you so much. Saturday night's always tough, so thank you for your time. I'd love to have you back on Last Word on Spurs. Very quickly, Dal, anything worth in the diary you want to give a mention to? Anything worth coming up?
Really, I'm doing busy with voiceovers. If you turn on your radio, you'll hear me on Heart and Capel and Greatest Hits and advertising everything. I went to Wilco's today and I heard myself on Wilco's radio advertising something. I don't even know what I sell. And if I have to say the word spooktacular one more time this week, fucking hell, come and visit the Spooktacular. Anyway, it's a job.
We'll be looking around now and Wilkins again. Is that Darren Altman behind me?
Yeah.
And until
funny.
The wonderful Darren Altman. Darren, thank you so much. I'd love to hear you back on Last Word on Spurs. Lee,
cheers, Boris.
Isn't it right fitting McQueen as the final word on Last Word on Spurs? Lee, thoughts overall for Frankfurt and a prediction, please, for this one? I'm sure you'll be there.
I think I was really pleased to see us away. I thought we handled that away fixture. It wasn't just the manner of playing; it was the whole occasion and fixture really well. Draw your away games, win your home games. I think if we create as many chances as we did, we face them up as a 3-4-3 and create as many chances as we did v them away, we're smashing them. I actually agree with Greg and Tom in the comments. I'm going 3-0 for a prediction. I think it'll be a very, very good night. And please, viewers and listeners, go and see that rousing speech, if you like, that Antonio Conte's given, because
or wait for the end of the podcast. Wait for the end of the audio here. You're going to hear it. It's superb.
You're going to hear it on the audio. It is something else. So let's get it done. And let's sing hard. I'll be there on Wednesday. I think we're all there, aren't we, on this week? So cannot wait. And a great 3 points to finish what was a very difficult week for the football club.
No, totally agree.
What are you doing Thursday?
Thursday, yeah. Funny that we're not playing on Thursday, are we?
Drinks on Wednesday, Arsenal on Thursdays. God, brave doing that right now. Listen, we'll get them back later in the season. Can I just say, from the wonderful Lee McQueen, Lee, thank you so much, mate. Never is on Saturday, so thank you. The wonderful Darren Altman, Darren, thank you so much, mate. As always, pleasure having you back on.
Lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Great guys. Thank you so much.
Pleasure all ours. And Jace, thank you so much as always, mate. Love you having you back on, and always reasonable facts. Thank you so
much, mate. And memories to Johnny as well tonight. So
yeah, please. Yeah, again, tribute out to Gian-Piero, of course, Ventrone, and to Johnny Duncan. Guys, from Lee, from Darren, from Jace, myself, guys, please keep safe, keep well, and as always, we'll be back with you for instant reaction to Eintracht Frankfurt. But hearing us out is the wonderful Antonio Conte on audio. Thank you so much for your time, and as always,